If you're watching this video, it's probably because you have doubts, you have your concerns, or you're intrigued on what you should be looking for when you decide on a bachelor's of business. And specifically in the United States, there's a lot of different options to choose from. There are a lot of different differences within the curriculum itself, as we will explore in a minute, that might determine your future going one way or the other. So I think it is important that you plan your program specifically. You look at institutions that are going to give you the degree that you're looking at specifically for your career outcomes, because depending on what you want to do with that degree, you might be looking at one style of education or another. So hopefully in this quick video, we can explain the 3 different main criteria to look at when deciding on a bachelor's in business administration. Now, the first thing that I have to point out is that this video could go on for hours. There's a lot to talk about when it comes to selecting the right university, the right class size, the right campus, the right professors, the right degree, the right area, concentration, etc. And that's what Epro 360 does. So if at any point in this video you want to learn more about how to select that right degree for you and that right institution for you, then please go to the description below, click on the link, and fill out that form for a free consultation with an Epro 360 expert. On that call, we can better determine what to do with your profile, how to move forward, and the different assessments that you'll need to take place in order to get you to the United States. So please, if at any point you have questions, you have doubts, go there, click on that, and then get your journey started. However, this will be a simplistic version and application on how to search those bachelor programs. So for starters, we have to understand what a bachelor's is, what are some of the differences between bachelor's programs, and how to identify them, identify the right one for you specifically. So let's start by explaining the bachelor's program. A bachelor's is a group of 120 credits that will go into your diploma. It has to have at least 120 credits, but normally you will find programs that have 124, 126, a little bit higher than 120. We'll see some examples of that in a minute, but that's what the concept of a bachelor's is. Now, on this major, right, which is that 120 credits, a lot of students add on what's called a minor. A minor is at least 12 to 17 credits that is in a specific area that might be connected and might not be connected. It depends on the student, what they want to get out of it. If we look at business, for example, a lot of students will add on a second language. They'll add on maybe some type of concentration that might allow them to amplify their knowledge in a specific area. It's very common if you study international business, for example, you might take Spanish as a second language because you understand a lot of your clients might be Spanish or Spanish speaking. So that's just a quick example of what a minor is. You can select one or not. That's all 100% up to you. Now, within the bachelor's, you're going to have, specifically with business, you're going to have 3 different choices. You're going to have a bachelor's of arts, a bachelor's of science, and then what's typically, you'll see that on the webpage, a BBA, a bachelor's in business administration. Now, if you want to study business and you want to study a general program or even concentration, a specific track within the business realm, which one should you choose? And to answer that, it's a very personal choice. You have to maybe deep dive into your own thoughts, your own career choices, what you want to get out of that. But point blank, a BA, a Bachelor's of Arts, in the business realm specifically, is going to be concentrated on very theoretical knowledge. It's going to have maybe a broader application to business. You're going to have a lot of management classes, for example. Typically with a BA in business, you will move into the business sector on a managerial position, or continue with the theory, right, and maybe become a professor of business. Those are, I'd say, the 2 most common applications for a BA in business. That's not always the case. You can obviously, you're educated in the realm of business. That might lead to different pathways. Entrepreneurship is one of them. You can definitely create your own business with a BA in business. That's 100% true. I'm not limiting anybody's choices. I'm just saying that historically speaking, a BA has been very theoretical in basis and very broad when it comes to the applications of business. You will complete your education with a broad understanding of economics, of applied sciences, of the theory of economics, the history of economics as well. A lot of different areas, right? Now, when you look over in the BS in business, the Bachelor's of Science in Business, it's the complete opposite, right? It's much more scientifically approached, right? The education is going to be a little bit more scientific. You're going to have a maybe more concentrated, more narrow field of study when it comes to business. You might have to choose a specific concentration. It's not going to be as general. Typical applications will be to enter the job market with very specific roles because you will be an expert in that area. As I said, it's connected more with the science, so you might be exposed in a way to the area of research, economic research, for example. That might be one application. You might continue further education into a PhD, a master's, and then a PhD, and become an economist, for example. Very, mathematically speaking, engaged with that BS in business. And this, again, is not always. I'm just generally speaking, that's more of the trend with the BS in business compared to the BA. And then the third option you have is what I mentioned before, a BBA, a business bachelor's in business administration. That, I would say, is trying to mix the two. It's an attempt to combine the two aspects and not have them so separated. However, it still falls more on the BA side. It's still more theoretical. It still has more management perspective in a way. And let me just say that you can never go wrong with any of these choices. This is 100% personal. One choice is not better than the other. It just depends on your general outcomes. If you want to be a manager, if you love understanding business as a broad concept, then both the BBA and a BA in business will definitely suit those interests. If you're more scientific and you want to have maybe a more mathematical approach and an analyst approach to business, then perhaps the BS in business is going to serve you better. Look at your master's programs as well. If you're an undergraduate student thinking of your master's already, which is totally fine to do, think of what master's program you're looking at. If you want a general MBA, then both the BA and the BBA will definitely serve that purpose. If you're looking at a master's in science with data analytics, for example, as its concentration main area of study, or anything connected to an MS, right? Then you definitely want to look at the BS in business because it already will serve that purpose. Okay. Now let's look at some examples of these programs just to give maybe a better glimpse. As you can see here on my screen, on the first and second semester, even the let me scroll up here. Let me start with the first and second year. This, by the way, is coming from the management program, the international business program at the University at Buffalo in New York. Great program, great university. We'll use this as an example later on as well. You notice here that you will have prerequisite courses, and this goes in line with the bachelor's idea, as I mentioned earlier. 120 credits will be broken down into different areas, different specific topics. One of them will be prerequisite courses. Any university student has to take these prerequisite courses. It kind of lays the ground, if you will, for all students at a university level to have the same broad knowledge. And you will have them applicable to your program or not. It just depends on what program you're studying. You will have to take, for example, history or English or something connected to maybe more artistic side of things or humanities, if you will, regardless of being a BA or a BS. So that's the first thing to kind of point out. And then as we scroll down to the third and fourth year, it gets more technical and more advanced when it comes to the classes. Statistical decisions, for example, you can clearly tell that this is in fact a BS in international business and not a BA, you wouldn't be taking that. Career connections. Two, if you want to connect that to the job market, that's showing how practical it is in its methodology when it comes to education. And then you also have strategic management as well. Very concentrated, very narrow. The focus of it will be quite narrow. As we mentioned with the BS, it is much more than the BA. As an example of a BBA in data analytics, still within the business realm, we have the University of North Alabama. Great program here. They have a College of Business that has several good accreditations, as we will see in a minute as well. And you will see the prerequisites here in the humanities side, the natural sciences and mathematics. And if we scroll all the way down here, we will have the pre-BBA foundation. A lot of students that I've worked with, they not complain, but they do have their reservations when they have to take these base requirements. There's no way to get around them. Programs have to be built around something, and these are the prerequisites that pretty much all university student will have to take. Now, as we look at the data analytics classes, specific classes, you'll notice introduction to data analytics, techniques around data mining. It's very technical as well, right? So just because it's a BBA does not mean you're not going to have technical classes. It's not that it's not a BS. It still has its components of the scientific side of things, the mathematical side of things. And if you look at the electives as well, they give you a great selection to choose from. If in that BBA you want to go more for the let's say the humanities side of thing, the theoretical side of thing, you definitely have that opportunity, right? You have psychological tests, for example, here at the bottom. You have methods of social research, which will be more, I would say, humanities applicable, right? But then you also have all the scientific electives. You have economics of the firm, you have mathematical economics, data analytics internship, you have computer science 1 and 2, you have applied managerial decision making and analysis. So you do have very technical and in-depth programs to choose from. So I think that's why the BBA, in my opinion, is great for students that might be undecided when it comes to the BA or BS decision. They're not 100% sure. They still want to experience maybe both sides of the coin before deciding. That would be a great program to look at, right, for those type of students. Now, if you are very goal-oriented and you know what you want and you have clear expectations when it comes to the job market and the career that you want to pursue, then that's when you have to decide whether that is a BA guided or BS guided. But as I stated at the beginning, there's no wrong answer here. All of them are business programs. They just have a different focus, and depending on the focus that you want to have, you should choose one or the other. Now, the second big point that I would make when choosing the right program for you has to do with the correct accreditation of that institution. What I mean by this is there are different levels of accreditation that schools will have that can demonstrate the quality of the education, or perhaps the common goals that they try to elicit from their students and try to provide for their students after graduation. Now, I'm going to start with the powerhouse of business and accounting, and that is the AACSB accreditation. Roughly 190 institutions in the US have it, roughly 850 have it worldwide. That represents roughly 5 to 10% of universities will have this accreditation, so it is a limited group, and you will have to pay for it. This will come at a higher cost. These institutions typically are larger and have a lot of students, maybe more reputable, have a big brand name in the US and worldwide, it doesn't really matter. Or B, they're small and they're niche and they do business programs very well, and that's why they got the accreditation. Now, the accreditation itself, AACSB as an organization did start roughly 100 years ago in the US. and then it expanded to roughly other 60 countries worldwide, starting in South America first, and then moving over to Europe and then into Asia. So it is a very reputable accreditation that schools can have for a period of 5 years. After those 5 years are up, you will be under review. And basically what they grant is a high standard of the quality of education, of the connection opportunities between professors, between institutions, right? So the communication between professors among AACSB accredited schools, as well as communication with the job market, right? With businesses in the sector. And I think that last point is a very great offer, in the sense that most AACSB accredited schools will have wonderful internship programs. They will have job fairs where big companies, name companies, will come in to recruit the students of this program, whether it's an undergraduate program or a master's program. They will have a lot of opportunities to get maybe talks, conferences, different congresses where real world leaders, CEOs of companies or specific areas of interest will come and give speeches, they'll give talks, they'll have Q&As, you name it. They will have student opportunities to meet the job market as a whole. So I think that has a lot of weight. And that's why universities also charge for it. It does come as an extra expense. They do have to organize a lot of things. Professors do have to be granted different opportunities that do cost money. So, you will see an elevated cost of the tuition, right, of the program itself with AACSB accredited schools. However, if you are very passionate about business and you want to go to an elite school within the business field, try to select AACSB accredited schools. Now, if not, the second best option, if you will be ACBSP. I always mix those up. ACBSP, there you go. Or the IACBE accreditation. Those two accredited schools, accreditations for schools, I should say, are typically applicable for smaller schools, state schools as well, that maybe don't have the prestige, they don't have the size, they don't have the resources to afford the AACSB accreditation, but it's still recognized by the government in the US, and it is a sign that they're trying to push their business programs, do things differently. They give opportunities to students similar to the AACSB accreditation, just maybe on a smaller scale. Okay, now let's look at some examples of these schools. The first one, we go back to the University at Buffalo, the School of Management, and I wanted to just visually show you how to look for this accreditation. Okay, you'll notice on this first page, they try to highlight, first of all, the different programs that they have, the different concentrations that they have in this program. They even have a 4+1, which is a BS plus an MS. Great opportunity to look at. This school has great reputation. It's ranked in the top 100. Their business program is always very well ranked on different channels. And you'll notice that, right? And they try to show this to you. They showcase their accreditation. So you just click on that link, accreditation and ranking, and it will take you to this new page. And as I was stating before, schools want to promote this accreditation. 5 to 10% of schools have it nationwide or worldwide, so they do need to stand out. They need to make sure that they're showcasing this accreditation. And as you can see here, 16,000 business schools in the world, only 5% are accredited AACSB worldwide. I have to actually maybe pinpoint this and say that only 2% actually have the AACS accreditation in business and in accounting. There are two different accreditations, and only 2% will have both, largely because not every school has accounting as a program. Now, they do mention this as an accredited school, the AACSB accreditation, and then they go into listing the Bloomberg Business Week, Financial Times, Forbes, US News and World Report, the Wall Street Journal, and the Military Times. Now, I'm somebody that doesn't necessarily like these world rankings. The US News is very misleading in many cases. The way that they analyze rank, in my opinion, is very misguided, and it doesn't maybe do a fair picture, paint a fair picture of these rankings. Having said that, I know that as human beings, we try to guide ourselves by a list. We try to put everything in an order. That's just how we function. So I do see that it's important to have this, but honestly, specifically connected to business, which this video is about, I would stick with the AACSB accreditation. Being on US News does not mean that they have a good business program. Being on the Bloomberg Business Week does not mean that they have a good business program. You're going to find that on a different scale, and AACSB accredited schools, for example, will demonstrate that level of quality regardless of being on a Bloomberg Business Week. That's just my personal preference. Keep that in mind when you look at that of these other external rankings and reviews. Not all of them are top-notch, but that is an example of where to find this accreditation. If we go into Mina State University, it's a very small school in the northern part of North Dakota, and I just wanted to use this as an example of a state school. Very, very small. I think the total student population is roughly 6,000 students, so quite small. And we're here at the International Business Program that they offer. They do explain it in depth. They give you a career outlook with the median pay based on different statistics of the Bureau of Labor. Typical webpage, an average webpage. You have different programs to choose from. Now, there at the end, they have the IACBE accreditation, which I mentioned, I referenced earlier. Typically, this will be, as I said, applicable to smaller schools, even state schools. But as you can see, it is accredited by the Higher Learning Commission, in the U.S. Department of Education. So this is a very valid accreditation as well. And even though it might not have the long-standing reputation of the AACSB, it's still a valid accreditation for business programs. I wouldn't overlook this school. This school, for example, when it comes to cost, comes at a fraction of a cost compared to the University at Buffalo. But that's not always the case, and that's why I wanted to share with you and show you the University of North Alabama. This is a medium-sized school. It's a state school. It's in a southern state, which does have lower costs of life than maybe New York with the University of at Buffalo. Sorry. But this school has the business program as we saw before. It's affordable, it's flexible, and it's reputable, as they state here at the beginning. So now you've seen 3 examples of accreditation, one coming from the main page before you go into specifics, the second at the bottom of the program of international business, and the third at the first page explaining the program itself. It is AACSB accredited, and this cost of tuition per year is below the $20,000 mark for tuition, room, and board. So this is a great example of a very affordable school with accredited AACSB accredited standing. However, it's not a huge state school like University at Buffalo. It does have a smaller student population. Now, the third thing that I'd like to finish the video with is a simple remark of trying to be personal with your own decision. Simply because a program is AACSB accredited does not mean that that is the right program for you. Try to look into the program itself. We've seen some examples of curriculum. Go into the classes that you will be taking. Go into the list of professors of each department that you're interested in to learn more about what each professor is doing, what their background is. Feel free to reach out to those professors as well. The US is very well known for their one-on-one communication at a professor level. Take advantage of that. Try to reach out to professors and get to know them on a maybe more professional level and what they plan to do in the future. If you are, for example, interested in the research area within the business program, it's very important for you to understand what research is being carried out, what research is planned, how you might be a part of that, if you can be a part of that as well. So feel free to kind of nitpick the different ideas, the statistics, all the information displayed on a university webpage, and don't be shy to reach out to professors. So that's kind of my final point. Even though going by AACSB accreditation could be a good start, that doesn't necessarily mean it's the only option or the right option for you. As we've seen with Mina State University, it's a smaller school, but it might be appealing for a great number of students for their cost, for their location, for their diligence when it comes to the program itself, or the outcomes that they're able to have. Every student is independent, every student is unique, every student needs different things to make them feel not only happy but rewarded or satisfied with the program that they're studying. So if you're that type of student that you need to know more, you need to understand more the process of the application, you need to understand more the educational system in the United States, and you need help with that, then feel free, like I said at the beginning, go to the description, follow the link in that description to a form, fill out the form, and receive a free consultation from Epro 360. As a final note, if you've liked this content and you want to see more of it, if you have any specific topic that you'd like to recommend us creating content for you, feel free to drop a comment in the section below. Like and subscribe to this channel too, and that way you will get notified of any new content that we create. Until then, thank you very much and good luck.